Well, greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is John Campea, and this is Open Mic. Now, on the John Campea Show, every day, Monday through Friday during the week, we save some time to take live questions, but here on Open Mic, that's all we do, just all open forum discussion about anything we want to talk about. By the way, I know a lot of you guys aren't into the sports stuff at all, but Tiger Woods just won, what is it, his 18th major or something like that, his 5th Masters, when everybody said he was done, and Tiger Woods wins the Masters. Man, huge thing in the sporting world. But anyway, lots of stuff for us to talk about here today. Endgame's getting closer. Game of Thrones starts tonight. By the way, guys, for those of you watching Game of Thrones a little later tonight, about an hour or so after Game of Thrones airs, me, Ann, and Corey Takei, we're going to be doing a open Game of Thrones post-show open discussion. So if you guys want to come and talk Game of Thrones with us later tonight, you come on by and you talk Game of Thrones with us later tonight. But with that down and out of the way, let's talk about the things you guys want to talk about. Let's go over and start taking some live questions. And we're going to start off with Curtis Lopez, who writes, I was iffy on Scar's new look at first, but then I remembered he's an outcast lion. He's supposed to look scrawny, mangy, and malnourished. Oh no, he looks great. When you look at, I think the look of Scar is fabulous. Like, I don't understand anybody who's got a problem with it. I think he looks fabulous. And when you look at Scar in the original animated, he is much skinnier than Mufasa. He is not the alpha male. You remember he says to Mufasa, I got the brains, but when it comes to brute strength, I came in the shallow end of the gene pool. Like, he was supposed to be scrawnier, a little more mangy looking, that sort of thing. That's why I love the look of him personally. Not everybody did, and that's fine. But I thought Scar looked great, personally. All right, TF writes, happy Game of Thrones Day, and a happy Game of Thrones Day to all of you guys as well. I'm not even the biggest Game of Thrones fan in the world, but even I'm swept up in all the Game of Thrones excitement. Me and Ann watched the Season 7 season finale a couple nights ago again. Great episode of television. Really looking forward to tonight and everything getting going again. All right, Grandmaster writes, over under 50% that we will see the third and last part of your Captain Marvel spoiler discussion before the Endgame discussion. We know you work hard, Jay. Yeah, I have fallen behind on that. I mean, there's a lot of videos to do. This is my second video I'm doing today. I had to do a companion video earlier this morning, doing this live one now, and then we got Game of Thrones later. But yes, there is still one more left over. Captain Marvel spoiler discussion. Like, we did the main discussion, then Rob did a big follow-up, but there were still some questions left over. I just haven't had the time pulled together, but we will do it. And we will do it before Endgame comes out. This week we will do it. I will get caught up on that. And you're perfectly justified in calling me out on it because I am behind. So perfectly justified in calling me out on that. McDavid deserves better. And of course he does. Merry Christmas, Earth. Game of Thrones is back after 595 days. I honestly don't know why it took them this long to get 6 episodes of television together, but whatever. It's all forgiven. It's all in the past. New episode starts tonight. All right, Guy Volt writes, Dustin and Israel, the new interim champs. Dude, amazing UFC last night. Amazing UFC last night. Absolutely had a blast. So me and a bunch of people, we went into Hollywood, as is what we generally do for these things. We went into Hollywood and we checked out the fights, and as my normal crew and me. It was me last night, of course, Dennis Zen, he and I watch UFC all the time. Soul Video came. We went to this bar in LA, or in Hollywood, called the Sycamore Tavern, which is a place we like to go to watch the UFC fights. So we went in there, watched the fights. Fabulous thing of fights. I was 1 for 1 on the main events. I thought Max Holloway would win the lightweight interim title, but Dustin Poirier looked amazing last night. And I picked the upset. I thought Gastelum would beat Stylebender in a massive upset, and he certainly laid a beating on Stylebender, the likes of which Israel has never taken a beating like that. But oh my God, that kid has a chin. Oh my God, that kid has a chin. Unbelievable. That 2 amazing fight of the year candidates last night. It was absolutely fantastic. Orange Hand writes, some are upset about Disney making money by remaking or re-releasing their old movies. And here I thought Disney was a non-profit organization. Yeah, I don't understand why do people ever get mad at any company doing things that companies do? We do things for business to make money, and then people get upset. I'll never understand that, Orange Hand. You're right. Oh, I thought Disney was a non-profit charity organization. No, they're a business. They're in it to make money. Mike Hill writes, just had a huge brainwave. Oh, here we go. The time stone can reverse moments in time, but not time travel, right? So what if Thanos uses time stone to revive Gamora? I don't know that he can. See, that's the thing, and I just don't think it's something you can do. Now, I don't know what specifically you're asking me, Mike. Like, what if Thanos uses the time stone to revive Gamora? Then he uses the time stone to revive Gamora. You can't ask me what if and then not have a question attached to it. What if you're set your context, now ask a question. Okay, so what if Thanos uses the time stone to revive Gamora? Then he uses the time stone to revive Gamora. That's the answer to your question. Would that be, I don't know if you're asking me, would that be consistent with what they've done? I don't know if you're asking me, is that something the stone can even still do? Are you asking me, is that something that the gauntlet is even in the shape to do after what happened to it in Infinity War? I'm not really sure. But my just thought in that is that's not something that he's able to do, and we'll go into it in the movie and see what happens. Jack Leo writes, hey, John, greetings from Coachella. Ooh, you're a braving Coachella, are you? Over under 40% that Eitri, the Peter Dinklage character, appears in Endgame. I think there's a possibility he appears in Endgame, but 40% is kind of high. So I would put it at about a 15% chance. So I think there's a chance, but not 40%. So I'm going to take the under on 40% on that. Ant Banks 1984 writes, do you think they'll show Captain Marvel on another planet and people around her starts to dust, and in the commotion, that's when she gets the page? It's possible. The reason why I think they may not is, a lot of people would ask, why didn't they show Thanos decimating, why am I forgetting the name of the planet where the Nova Corps was? What's the name of the planet where the Nova Corps was? Anyway. Xandar? I think Xandar. Okay, yes, Xandar. Why didn't Infinity War show Thanos devastating Xandar to get the stone there? Because they didn't need to. It wasn't important to the story. All we needed to know was that it happened. It wasn't important to the movie, and it wasn't important to the story that we see it happen. It wasn't vital. All that was important was that we knew that's what happened. So Thor tells that part of the story when he's talking to the Guardians of the Galaxy, that Thanos decimated Xandar to get the Power Stone. That's all we needed to know. You didn't need to take up 7 extra minutes of screen time. You needed 5 seconds of screen time for Thor to go, Thanos decimated Xandar. There's already lots of other action sequences in Infinity War. You didn't need that scene. We don't need to see... I would propose that we don't need to see Captain Marvel standing around a bunch of aliens who then turn to dust. We can kind of assume that, right? I think we can assume she sees that happening, and she can probably just say, I was on such and such world, and all of a sudden people started dying around me, and then I got Fury's message, and I knew the two things had to be connected, so I came here as fast as I could. That's all you need to do. Could they show it? Yes. As a matter of fact, I wouldn't be completely surprised if that's how Endgame starts. If Endgame opens with Captain Marvel, on some distant alien world, having just righted a wrong and just achieved justice for somebody, and all of a sudden people start dying, and then she looks down in the confusion, sees the message from Fury, realizes they must be connected. But I'm going to lean towards they won't, because there's really not an importance to showing that. They can just say it and we're done, right? So I'm going to guess no, but it's certainly possible. All right. Guy Volt writes, what would be your last meal if on death row? Easy. My Italian grandmother's, my nonna, her veal parmesan or her lasagna. I'm going to lean towards her veal parmesan. I love my grandmother's veal parmesan. Seconded only by my grandmother's homemade from scratch lasagna. That's exactly what I would have. Ant Banks 1984 writes, I can hear the eruption in the theater during Endgame. If they show Banner in distress and when he turns his head, his eyes turn green. Oh my God. Fire hose. If you guys who've watched my previous episodes, you know what I mean by fire hose. That, oh my God, people would freak the hell out. Like, theaters all across America will explode in enthusiasm. Ruffalo's on the ground. Like, there's been an explosion. He's in the rubble, and the camera's behind his back, and you see him on the ground down on his elbows, and then he turns his head. And the eyes turn gray, and they're like, ah! And everybody loses their mind. It would be an incredible moment in the theaters, dude. It would be an incredible moment in theaters. All right, Murray Reich writes, the saga comes to a close, Bob Iger. That's cute. Well, I know. The Skywalker part of the saga comes to a close. The Star Wars saga continues. And, but yeah, Bob Iger, that's adorable. Print me more money. Yeah, absolutely. Ant Banks 1984 writes, if Palpatine is alive in episode 9, he's got to be like 200 years old or more. I mean, yeah, he's got to be really old. But, I mean, this is an alien creature. I mean, he looks human, but he's an alien still. I mean, he's not from Earth, so he's an alien. Who knows how whether he's using the dark powers of the Sith to extend his life or whatever. I'm sure they'll have some sort of explanation one way or the other. But you're right, Ant Banks. That was the first thought through my head. Is like, my God, if he's in episode 9, how old is he at this point? But I'm sure they're going to have some kind of explanation for it. All right. Murray Reich writes, since Return of the Jedi is your favorite Star Wars movie, it is, I can't but wonder, after seeing the episode 9 trailer, does Return of the Jedi feel different now, i.e. Palpatine being alive? No, not at all. You know, somebody wrote in when we did the live discussion about this Star Wars trailer. It's like, doesn't that undo everything from Return of the Jedi? I'm like, not at all. And somebody said, like, doesn't that mean that Vader wasn't the chosen one of the prophecy to bring balance to the Force? No, not at all. Of course he was. And he did. Vader came in a time when the dark side dominated the galaxy and the galaxy being ruled by the Sith, and he brought balance to the Force. He deposed Palpatine. Now, whether Palpatine croaked or survived is irrelevant. He deposed Palpatine. Maybe he killed him, maybe he didn't, but he deposed him, and it ushered in a new era of peace and justice in the galaxy. That doesn't mean the peace and justice would last forever, but it lasted for decades. So, to me, whether Palpatine lived or died at the end of Return of the Jedi is really just a trivia question. The fact of the matter is, Vader turning back to the light at the last moment, choosing his son over the Emperor, and deposing the Emperor brought about the end of the Empire, and therefore ushered in a new era of balance to the Force and peace in the galaxy for decades. It was never going to last forever, whether it was the Emperor coming back or the First Order. It was never going to last forever, but it did. So to me, no. Palpatine being in episode 9, in no way, shape, or form, does that affect anything about my perception of Return of the Jedi, honestly? It's a good question, but that's how I feel about that. Okay. Nikhil Shirsat writes, just smile and wave, boys. Smile and wave. I can hear the way it's being said. Just smile and wave, boys. Just smile. What's that? Just smile and wave, boys. Oh, it's the penguins. It's the penguins of Madagascar. Just smile and wave, boys. Just smile and wave. At least I think that's what it's from. I could be wrong. Dallas Clark writes, hey, John, love the show. How much of a role do you think the Dusted will play in Endgame? Thanks. I mean, it's so hard to call right now. We know so little about this movie, which is great. We got the basic idea. We know the gist of the movie, which is good, but that's all we needed to know. Honestly, I'm not going to be surprised if the Dusted do not reappear by whatever mechanism, changing of realities, an unsnapping, whatever method it brings it about. I won't be surprised if we don't see the Undusted characters until the last 5 minutes of the movie. And I also won't be surprised if we see the Undusted characters pop up halfway through the movie. And then they're in the entire second half. I honestly have no idea. On a pure guess speculation that I'm not willing to plant my flag in whatsoever, I'm going to guess third act. Sometime in the third act, but I mean, it could be in the second act. Who knows? Right now, pure guess, I'm going to guess third act. Christopher Brickner writes, if Palpatine survived the fall, It shouldn't be a surprise. Darth Maul survived. Thank you. Yes. Darth Maul survived being cut in half and falling, and more powerful Sith could survive worse. I agree. Now, the extra little thing, though, on top of, now granted, Palpatine wasn't cut in half like Maul was, but Palpatine was on the Death Star, and the Death Star exploded. Now, who's to say he didn't survive the fall? Dragged himself to an escape shuttle, much the way that Luke dragged Vader's body to an escape shuttle. There's all that kind of too, but let's not forget that this Death Star also exploded, whereas Naboo, where Darth Maul died, that we thought he died, Naboo didn't then blow up, right? So there is that little bit of a difference, but it's a good point. Yeah, if Maul can be cut in half by a lightsaber and fall down this chasm and survive, why not? Why not, Sidious? Guy Volt writes, I love your show and all you do. Thank you so much, Guy. I've been watching you since the 24-hour AMC special. Thanks so much, man. That was a lot of fun. Also nearly killed me, but it was a lot of fun. I watched the whole thing of that with no sleep. Really? You're an inspiration. Dude, even I stepped away for an hour or two to close my eyes for a bit, because I remember that 24-hour marathon. That was crazy. But it was great, man. I mean, we raised a lot of money for the typhoon victims in the Philippines, and it was a great time. It was a great event, and we raised tens of thousands of dollars for the victims, thanks to you guys, and it was certainly a great thing. And I'm glad you've been around since then, Guy. I appreciate that, dude. All right. ZOMG Ruler writes, Wonder Woman 84, 1 billion shot now. Captain Marvel did it, female lead, and Ant-Man or Aquaman did for DC. Well, yeah, I think it's always been a possibility that Wonder Woman 84 could do it. I mean, look, the first Wonder Woman crossed $800 million and was well received by the critics and by the fans. Look, if a movie makes $800 million and is well received by the audience and is well received by the critics, then you have to consider it a possibility that a sequel will cross the $1 billion mark. Now, whether it does or does not is all going to depend on how good the movie is. But it has certainly positioned itself to join the $1 billion club. Absolutely it has. We'll have to see how it turns out. Mr. 47 writes, 11 days till Endgame. It's so close. 1 week tomorrow, I go see it. I get to see it 1 week from tomorrow. So I'm very excited about that. Very stoked. I'll let you guys know more when I can. Christopher Bickner writes, loved fan reaction to Ahmed Best at Star Wars Celebration. Yeah, I haven't seen the reaction, but I've been reading, some people have been sending me messages on social media that Ahmed Best was there and that he got a wonderful reception. Again, much like the Kelly Marie Tran reception and the Hayden Christensen reception from 2 years ago. It is really nice, especially when we've seen a lot in the last year of Star Wars fandom at its worst. We've seen a lot of those dark corners of Star Wars fandom where the cousin humpers live. It is great in a year that we've seen a lot of the worst of Star Wars fandom to come to an event like Star Wars Celebration and see the best in Star Wars fandom. And it was really touching when we got to see that response that Kelly Marie Tran got. It was really great and touching to see the response that Hayden Christensen got a couple of years ago. And I haven't seen it yet, but hearing that Ahmed Best got a really warm reception, that's great to hear. In a time that we've been seeing a lot of the worst of some of the cretins that inhabit the Star Wars fandom, it's really good to see the Star Wars fandom at its best. So, it's really good to see. Thanks for sharing that, Christopher. All right, Saber writes, Game of Thrones, can't wait. Excitement is beyond comprehension. We're just a few hours away. From right now, we're less than 6 hours. From the live stream of this, we are less than 6 hours from Game of Thrones kicking up and starting again. I hope some of you guys will come back and join me and Ann and Kaori later tonight, about an hour after the broadcast ends, after the Game of Thrones broadcast ends, for us to do an open Game of Thrones episode discussion. Hope you guys will come and join us for that. All right. Dion Bendola writes, love your show. Thank you so much, Dion. Pre-ordered Hot Toys Infinity War Thanos. Good on you, sir. You still thinking about getting them? You should. You should do an unboxing if you get them. Oh, yeah. If I do get them, I'll definitely do an unboxing. A simple unboxing like on the show or something, but I'll definitely do something to commemorate me getting the Thanos toy. If I do, I'm thinking about it. I may pull the trigger. I got to tell you what, I might pull the trigger on that. What's funny is that Anne gave me permission, because these things aren't cheap. We're talking hundreds and hundreds of dollars. So I'm not going to make a purchase like that without, consulting with my partner. So I talked to Anne about it a while ago, and Anne's like, yes, get that, Thanos. And I still haven't, because I'm a cheap son of a bitch, right? I'm totally cheap. And so I still haven't bought it, but I think I may finally break down Dion and get that damn thing. All right, I'm Upset writes, over under 50%, Ty and Luis get Ant-Man out of the quantum realm. Ooh. Somebody brought up the other day, actually, it was today on the companion video I did for Friday's show. Somebody asked, I think it was Marie Seifring who asked, what do I think of the chances that it's Lawrence Fishburne's character that gets Scott out of the quantum realm, like Ghost and Lawrence Fishburne? What if those two got him out? It's like, that's a strong possibility. But also maybe T.I. and Luis track him down and get him out. That's as long as it's not the stupid ant. As long as it's not the ant that's playing drums at the end. Because I said this in the companion video, I'll say it again. If we're watching Endgame and that ant gets Scott out of the quantum realm, I may just leave. I may just leave and go, I'll come back and watch the rest of this later. But right now I'm just going to be completely pulled out of the movie. So I really hope it's not the ant. I'll take over 15%. I wouldn't give it 50%. But I'll take over 15% on that, and I'm upset. Murray Reich writes, Bruce Lee, my hands are lethal. I think registered lethal weapons is what he says. If I accidentally kill you in a fight, I go to jail. Brad Pitt, anybody that accidentally kills somebody in a fight goes to jail. It's called manslaughter. It's a great line. Dude, we are not talking enough about Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. I get it. Star Wars is coming. I get it. Endgame is coming. I get it. Shazam's in theaters. I get it. Hellboy, I get it. Lion King is coming. I get it. We're not talking enough about Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. I cannot wait for this movie. And it'll be great because I got to be honest with you. I think The Hateful Eight was probably my least favorite Quentin Tarantino movie. I frankly didn't like it. I didn't like it. I love his previous two, but I didn't dig Hateful Eight. I wanted to dig it and I couldn't. But I don't know. There's something about this Once Upon a Time in Hollywood movie that feels really special. It's hard to put my finger on it right now. It's hard to quantify it, but it feels really special. And I'm absolutely with you, Murray. That scene when Brad Pitt is just like, anybody who kills somebody in a fight goes to jail. It's called manslaughter. I love that line. And by the way, that Bruce Lee imitation, one of the best I've ever seen in my life. Like, you'd almost swear that somehow Quentin Tarantino found a way to resurrect Bruce Lee for that. All right. On If C Stu 123 writes, favorite line in Kendrick verse on Pray For Me. Oh, well, I like that song a lot. Probably my favorite line is, who need a hero? Look in the mirror. There goes your hero. Who on the front line of ground zero? Hero. I really do like that line. In the midst of that song, that line is actually really stands out. Who needs a hero? Look in the mirror. There goes your hero. It's a great line. I love that line. So that's probably my favorite line of the song. Taki75 writes, better actor, Sean Penn or Robert Downey Jr.? I'm going to go Sean Penn. Now, it all depends on, different actors will fit different roles a little differently, but Sean Penn is a stupid good actor. How many Academy Award nominations does he have? Hold on a second, let me just pull this up. Now, I know Robert Downey Jr. has an Academy Award nomination. Well-deserved. I believe he got that. Didn't he get that for the black and white star? Why am I freezing on his name? Anyway, I think he got it for Chaplin. Did he not? I think Robert Downey Jr. got it for Chaplin. Sean Penn, has 5 Academy Award nominations, 2 Academy Award wins. He was nominated for Best Actor in Dead Man Walking. He was great in that. Nominated for Best Actor in Sweet and Lowdown. Nominated for Best Actor in I Am Sam. Then he won Best Actor in Mystic River, directed by Clint Eastwood. Did a marvelous in that. And then again, he won Best Actor for a completely different kind of character in Milk in 2008. Now, I'm not saying whoever has more Oscar nominations is automatically a better actor. I'm not suggesting that. But it don't hurt when you 5 Best Lead Actor nominations, 2 Academy Awards on his mantle. He's just he's Hall of Fame. Like if there was a Hollywood Hall of Fame, Sean Penn's Hall of Fame. Robert Downey Jr. is a great actor, and he was born to play Iron Man. But I wouldn't put him in the same category as Sean Penn. That's just my personal opinion on that. Spicoli? Yeah, Spicoli. Nirvana Parasu writes, if there is time travel in Endgame, I'm excited to see conversation between new Tony and old Cap in First Avenger, especially after Civil War and how these characters have changed ideology. That has been, honestly, one of the best things about the MCU has been their character development, particularly the development of Captain Steve Rogers, Captain America, but even more so Tony Stark. The character development of Tony Stark has been spectacular. Just absolutely spectacular, his character development. And I remember one time sitting down with Robert Downey Jr., I specifically talked to him about that one specific thing. I said, I feel like every time we see Tony, the core spirit of who he is there, but I feel like we're seeing a slightly different character every time we come across Tony Stark in the MCU. And he was very proud of that, understandably so. And I think that's one of the great things about it. Ivana follows up with saying, where's Andrew Garfield? He's one of my favorite actors. Haven't heard after Silence and Hacksaw Ridge. Well, he's actually done a number of things. He did Breathe. He did, what was the name of that thing? On the Silver Lake, Above the Silver Lake, Under the Silver Lake, something like that. He did that Under the Silver Lake thing. And he's got a new one that's in pre-production right now. So he's stayed active. He hasn't been hyper busy. He's decided to slow it down a little bit. And I agree. He is one of my favorite actors. I adore Andrew Garfield. I think this dude is great. And I loved him in Hacksaw Ridge. I believe he got an Academy Award nomination for that. Well deserved. Loved him in that. He was great in Silence. And he continues to be great. The Breathe one is a really nice little movie too, if you haven't seen that. But yeah, he's staying active, just not as, proficient or prolific as, say, a Samuel L. Jackson or something like that. All right. The Super Green Flash of Tomorrow writes, hey, John, one of two. I'm seeing Endgame at a fan event. I'm supposedly going to see some exclusive content which will play for an hour before the movie begins. Any ideas, guesses as to what that may be? That's a good question. I've heard about the fan event stuff. I knew you're going to get like a commemorative pin and a collector poster and things like that. If I remember it correctly, they did something relatively similar when the first Endgame came out. I think it was just a lot of behind the scenes stuff. A lot of making of behind the scenes and all that kind of stuff. Now, what I hope is whatever they're going to show you, I hope it's nothing that spoils Endgame. Like, if they're going to show you behind the scenes and some making of, I hope they know well enough not to include stuff in that footage. Pardon me. I hope they know well enough not to include stuff in that footage that would spoil elements of the movie. That's what I would be scared of. That's what I'd be a little bit afraid of. But it's probably a lot of behind the scenes interviews, talking to the cast, bringing the road to Endgame, probably some stuff like that. I don't know for sure, but you could be in for some stuff that's really fun. Just, again, be ready to close your eyes just in case they show you too much. Robert Perez writes, was Leia's theme song right for the trailer? It seemed to work. It worked for me. Yeah, the musical choices, and there were a couple, seemed to work for me in that. Could there have been better? Maybe, but I thought it worked. Robert follows that up with, the sound of a TIE fighter is one of my all-time favorite sounds. I can't do it, but it's one of the great all-time movie sounds. Sound of a TIE fighter is one of my all-time favorite sounds. Thanks for all you do. Been following you for a year before The Force Awakens. Thank you. Oh, thanks so much, Robert. I appreciate that. And yeah, man, there is nothing like that. Then when you hear the sound of a TIE fighter in a Star Wars movie, it's amazing. I remember even in The Force Awakens, when Finn and Poe were escaping that Star Destroyer and they fire up the sound of that TIE fighter, man, it's just like nostalgia and awesomeness all rolled into one. I love that sound so much. I'm glad you shared that. Thanks a lot, Robert. All right. King T'Challa writes, which ending was sadder, Logan or Terminator 2? I'm going to go Logan. Because Terminator, a couple of things. Terminator's a robot. He's not even the same Terminator that we saw in Terminator 1. It was a different Terminator altogether. So we've really seen this robot for one movie, really. Logan was a character we've been living with for well over a decade. Right? We've seen him in movies many times, different incarnations of him, all played by Hugh Jackman. And so when he died, it was the weight of not one film, but like 8 films and 15 years and all that kind of stuff rolled into one. So easily for me, that would be Logan. Thunder Knight writes, which franchise do you think is harder to get a run of great films out of, the MCU or James Bond? I mean, the answer is neither. It's really difficult and hard to get a great run of films in any franchise because it's really freaking difficult just to make a good movie. Forget franchise. It is monumentally, ridiculously hard to make a good movie. To do a run of them is what, and it doesn't matter what franchise you belong to. It doesn't matter what franchise you belong to. It's hard to make a good movie, let alone make several in a row. And it doesn't matter if you're a James Bond franchise. It doesn't matter if you're a Mission Impossible franchise. It doesn't matter if you're the DCEU. It doesn't matter if you're the MCU. It doesn't matter if you're Star Wars. It doesn't matter if you're The Hangover. It doesn't matter. It's all equally hard. It's all ridiculously hard, dude, because it's so hard just to make one good movie. Patrick Conway writes, do you think Disney Plus shows will drop all episodes at once or week by week? Also, Mandalorian panel reaction sounds awesome. Need to see this show. I cannot wait for Mandalorian. I think they're going to go week by week. And you know what? I'm a binger, so I love it when Netflix drops all the episodes of a show at once. But there has been a predominant train of thought lately that when you release episodes 1 week at a time, you build a fan base much more effectively. Because when you drop an entire season at once, everybody talks about it, and then the talk ends. When you put out a great show, and you put out one episode a week, the people keep talking about it. Then next week, a new episode comes, people talk about it. The next week, a new episode comes, and people talk about it. Honestly, it's what got me into Doom Patrol. Because as Doom Patrol was dropping one episode a week, week after week, people kept talking about it. And they kept talking about it because a new episode would come out every week. And they talk about it and talk about it and talk about it. So finally I went, okay, guys, I give up. I'm going to check out Doom Patrol. So I went, got the DC service, watched Titans first because it was there. And Titans was all right. And then I started watching Doom Patrol. And it's awesome. I'm loving Doom Patrol. It's incredible. I'm just digging this show so much. Anyway, so there's a lot to be said about the fact that week after week releases build your fan base much more effectively than just dropping an entire season at once. Now, there's a part of me that really likes getting the entire season at once, but I think Disney's going to do it the more methodical way. I think they're going to release one episode at a time. So they'll drop one episode of Mandalorian on the day that Disney Plus launches. And everybody's going to talk about it if it's good. We don't know it'll be good. We think it'll be good. We hope it'll be good, but here's hoping. So if it's good, everybody's going to talk about it. Okay, now more people go, okay, fine, I'll sign up to it. And then next week, another episode of The Mandalorian drops. And now everybody's talking again. Now, some more people who didn't sign up before are like, okay, I'll sign up now. Fine. But guess what? Now next week, another new episode of The Mandalorian comes, and everybody talks about it again. And now even more people go, okay, fine, I'll sign up for it and I'll check it out. It just seems to be the better way to do it. So I don't know what the answer is. My guess, and it's just pure speculation as a guess, my guess is they'll do it the week by week releases because that seems to do more for building your fan base. Casinema Reviews writes, favorite Doom Patrol character minus Larry. Love all of them. I love Larry. I love Rita. I love Crazy Jane. I love the Chief. I love them all. But I really love Cliff. Cliff is so damaged and so messed up. And there's so much going on with him on so many levels, which is also true of Larry, which is also true of Rita, which is also true of Crazy Jane. That's all true. But there's just something about the way they bring it all together with Brendan Fraser's Robot Boy or Cliff that I'm just fascinated with day in, day out, so I'm going to go Cliff. Herc08 writes, while I will probably get Disney Plus day one, as a father, I wouldn't mind paying an extra $5 to $10 to get the live Disney channels, sort of like how HBO or Showtime does it. Still an incredible package. Yeah, and there's been some talk about that. that, you know what, I wouldn't be surprised at all. I wouldn't be surprised at all if at some point, maybe in year 2 or year 3, if we find out that Disney's plan is to eventually shut down the Disney cable networks and just roll them into Disney Plus. I'm not saying I've heard that. I'm not saying that's what they're doing. I'm simply saying I wouldn't be surprised at all if that's not their long-term plan. Get out of the cable business and bring it all into their streaming stuff. It seems to make sense. And I won't be, now they're not going to launch with that, Herc. I think we know that. They would have announced it if they were. But I won't be surprised at all if pretty soon we find out. But still, over 500 movies, all the Disney Vault stuff, all the classic Disney animation, all the Pixar films, all the Marvel films, all the Star Wars films, the National Geographic stuff, 30 seasons of The Simpsons, blah, blah. And The Mandalorian. That's what they're launching with. So it's a good amount of stuff they're launching with. But yeah, I kind of got a feeling, Herc, that that's what they're going to do. You're going to see the Disney cable stuff on streaming within a couple of years, I think. Again, just a guess, but we'll find out. Chris Hamilton writes, which movie has a bigger influence on Hollywood, Star Wars, New Hope, or The Godfather? I'm going to say Star Wars just because both of them are incredibly influential. But you know how many directors I've both talked to and heard from say, yeah, it was when Star Wars that made me realize I wanted to direct movies. You know, there's just been a whole generation of filmmakers and storytellers that saw Star Wars and thought, that's what I want to do with my life. I want to make movies. And they did that with it. Now, Godfather has a massive influence as well, one of the most influential films of all time. If I had to guess, so I'm going to go Star Wars. Murray Reich writes, how come Universal allows the Hulk character to be used by Disney, even if he's not the main character in an Avengers film? Don't they want some dough? They don't. It's not their choice. Universal doesn't have the rights to Hulk. Universal only has the rights to distribute a Hulk movie. That's the only thing they have the rights to. The rights to the Hulk character belong to Disney and belong to Marvel. The rights to distribute, remember, there's two different sets of rights. There's production rights, which means you have the right to make a movie about this character. And then the second set of rights is distribution rights, which means you have the right as a company to be the distributor of any such movie that's about this character. Disney has both the production rights and distribution rights to just about all their characters, except one. Hulk. That is why you haven't seen another standalone Hulk movie. And that's why Mark Ruffalo keeps complaining about Universal, because Universal's not about to give those rights up. They want to be able to distribute a Hulk movie because they know there's money to be made. Marvel can make any movie and put Hulk in as a character. As long as it's not a Hulk movie, then Universal doesn't get to distribute it. But the moment they make a movie where Hulk, it can be argued that Hulk is the lead character, then at that point, Universal has a legal claim to say, then we get to be the distributor of that movie, whether you call the movie Hulk or not. If we could bring it into a court and say, and make a case that Hulk is clearly the main character of this movie, then Universal has the right to be the distributor of that movie. That's why he plays second fiddle. In Avengers, he plays second fiddle in Thor Ragnarok. He's got to be a secondary or third-dairy character. He cannot be argued that he's one of the main characters or like a co-main character because Universal has the rights. But other than that, Universal has no say as to what Disney does with the Hulk. They can put him in every movie they want. As long as he's not the main character, then Universal has no say in the matter. So there's that. All right. Herc08 writes, as someone who's seen Star Wars episodes 4 through 8 for the first time last year, wow, I truly enjoy the modern take and Rey's journey. While everyone is shocked by the laugh, I am more interested in the jump. I am curious to see how far she got into her training. Yeah, I like one of the things that JJ said, and I've been fascinated by the Rey's journey as well. One of the things JJ said in the Star Wars Episode 9 panel was that a good chunk of time has passed. This isn't like 7 into 8 where it was just almost picks up right away. There's a big time jump between, not big as in 20 years, but there's a significant time jump between the end of Episode 8 and the beginning of Episode 9. where Rey has been reading the Jedi text. She's been studying the Jedi ways. Maybe she's been in contact with Force Ghost Luke. Maybe Luke comes back to life. I don't know. 5% chance. Anyway, there is a chunk of time. And I am with you, man. I'm really curious to see where they bring her since then. And I love that jump. And I'm curious to know who's piloting that TIE fighter. Because a lot of people believe, and I'm starting to believe it too, that that's not Kylo Ren. Because why not show his face? He showed his face in other parts of the trailer. A lot of people are thinking that might just be a training exercise. That it's a friend piloting that ship. And she's just doing it as a training exercise. And she's doing the big leap. So I don't know. But I'm with you, man. I am curious to see how far she's come and how much time has passed. So cannot wait for December, my friend. Cannot wait. All right. Where are we at here? Bellboy Baggins writes, Anakin and Luke both face Sidious. Maybe now it's Kylo's turn. Maybe the Skywalker saga ends with the last Skywalker facing a Skywalker foe. Totally possible. Totally possible. The rise of Skywalker could be a direct reference to Ben. And then I have people say, but John, Ben Solo is his name. It doesn't matter. He's a Skywalker. He is a direct descendant of Anakin Skywalker. It doesn't matter what name he is on his driver's license. He's a Skywalker. He is of the Skywalker lineage. He is of the Skywalker family. From Anakin to Leia to him, he is a Skywalker.
But John, if you pay attention, his name is actually Ben Solo.
Yeah, I know. But he's a Skywalker. So there are people who believe that Rise of Skywalker refers to Ben. Maybe it does. Some people think it refers to the reemergence of Luke. Oh, God, please be the case. It's probably not, but please. Which is possible. Some people think it's a reference to Rey taking on the name of Skywalker, that maybe Leia passes on to her the name of Skywalker. Some people believe that Skywalker becomes the new moniker for the new breed of Force users in the universe. They're not Jedi anymore. The Jedi's gone. The Sith is gone. Now there are Skywalkers, which, by the way, is what George Lucas was originally going to call Force users in his original transcripts of the first Star Wars. He was going to call Force users Skywalkers. A little bit of trivia there. My friend Kevin pointed that out to me the other day. So the notion that maybe it's referring to Kylo, and Kylo gets his redemption, which I don't think he's going to get, but who knows? That's definitely a possibility, Bellboy. Herco8 writes, if the teaser had put episode 9 in between Star Wars, do you think there would have been a large uproar if the title was not revealed? Nah. I think some people would have gone, oh, okay, so you're not giving us the title yet. Because who cares? The title is meaningless. Am I curious to know the title as anybody else? Sure I am. Of course I am. But ultimately, what does the title do? Nothing. Title does nothing. The title will not make a bad movie good. The title will not make a good movie bad. The title of a film will not make a movie 1% better or 1% worse. The title lives outside of the movie. So, would people have been surprised? Yeah. Would there have been some disappointment? Like, if they just put episode 9 instead of the title? Sure. An uproar? Oh man, I gotta believe Star Wars fans aren't that stupid. So no, I don't think there would have been a giant uproar. Would have been very curious that they still withheld the title? Sure. Yeah. A little disappointment from people in that auditorium? Sure. But the more important thing was we got the trailer. That actually shows us the movie. The title wasn't really important. Tyler Yeats writes, I can't contain my excitement for Endgame. So close, so close. Tomorrow will be 1 week until I see it. 1 week until I see it. I'm pumping up. I've already ordered my clothes that I'm going to be wearing to see it are coming in. I'm very excited. Just, lots of joy, lots of joy. Okay, Patrick Conway writes, just rewatched Civil War, epic movie. Just rewatched Civil War, epic movie was think. Let me try this again. Just rewatched Civil War, epic movie was think, do you think? They're done. Okay, what I think you're writing, Patrick, I'm not really sure here. What I think you're writing is, just finished watching Civil War, epic movie, period. Punctuation, people, is our friend. Period. do you take out was thing? Do you think you misspelt there? Do you think they're done with Sharon Carter's character? Or do you think she'll, punctuation folks is our friend, do you think she'll appear again in Falcon and Winter Soldier? Okay. I like her character. And I really like the, albeit small, but important role that she played in Civil War. And as a matter of fact, she set up one of the best moments in Civil War when her and Cap meet under that bridge and Falcon and Bucky are still in the car and Cap and her kiss. And then it cuts to one of the best moments in the movie where Falcon and Bucky in the car going, one of the best moments, just one of the best moments of that movie. And she was part of that. I think they're done with her character. I think they're going to move on from her. I don't think we're going to see her again. I hope I'm wrong. I don't know that. I'm not claiming any insider information, just pure fan speculation. If I had to guess one or the other, I'm going to guess she's probably gone. But it would be nice to see her back because I do like that character. Green Arrow 7 writes, people think the main message of The Last Jedi is let the past die. That's like walking out of Return of the Jedi thinking the main message is let the hate flow through you. Oh, I agree. Whenever people said, the whole point of the movie is let the past die, it's like, no, it's not. That's one thing that the villain of the movie kind of said, but that wasn't the point of the movie, nor was that the message of the movie, in my opinion. But then again, Green Arrow, that's one of the beautiful things about film and art is that some people saw it and that's what they took away. And we look at it and we see something completely different. Like, to me, that was clearly not the message of the movie, but that is the experience that some people had with it. And that's one of the most fascinating, beautiful, wonderful things about movies is the fact that we can all stand around, 10 people can stand around a piece of art on the wall and they can each see 10 different things. And that's not a weakness of art. That is the best thing about art. And by extension, the movies. It's the best thing about the movies to me. So I agree with you though, Green Arrow. To me, that was nowhere near the message of the movie. Not at all. Chris Warden writes, with Shazam now sitting at $270 million worldwide in 10 days on a $90 million budget, it's safe to say that the film will easily break even and become profitable. Oh, it's probably broken even already. Yeah. The beautiful thing about Shazam, the beautiful thing about not getting out of hand with your spending is that becoming profitable becomes a lot easier. When you're more responsible with your spending, you have a greater chance of success. And the fact of the matter is now making triple its budget, it's safe. I feel safe in saying that the movie has now crossed that threshold, that it's now broken even. And now it's every dollar it makes from now on is just pure profit. Shazam is a success. Shazam's a success. Did it deserve to make more money? Hell right it did. Shazam's awesome. I love this movie. Did it deserve to make more? Yep, you're damn right it deserved to make more. Should it have made more? Yep, should have made more. But it's a success. Any movie that makes money is a success. And this movie made money. It was beloved by the critics, it's loved by the fans, and it made profit. What else can you ask for? That's the trifecta right there. Critics liked it, fans liked it, made money. Great. Can't wait to see the sequel. Vince Carter of Mars writes, the other day I said to a friend, I think I may like the MCU even more than Star Wars now because of the Endgame hype. But then the episode 9 trailer dropped and I immediately texted him I was wrong. You know what the funny thing is? I'm a Star Wars guy to my core. I mean, that's just what it is. My earliest childhood memory, the entire reason I got into talking about movies or any creative endeavors because of Star Wars. Star Wars has pretty much defined my life. I know that sounds kind of sad, but it is what it is. Even as a Star Wars guy, I gotta say, I personally was not like completely blown away by the trailer, but I thought it was good. I thought it was a good trailer. I thought it was a solid trailer. I think it did what it needed to do, particularly for a trailer that is just a teaser for a movie that's not even coming out for another 8 months. All that said, it was pretty good, but I gotta say, it's the ending of the trailer that got me, that made me go, what? Like when Palpatine laughs at the end, man, that was that's pretty big. And it did kind of pique my interest a lot. And it's exciting, of course, as a Star Wars fan to see so many of the fans in Star Wars getting hyped up and getting their engines revving because of the trailer. It's great to see. Again, I wasn't blown away by it, but I thought it was good. I thought it was solid. But it's great seeing other people being so excited about it. It's just great being a fan, seeing stuff like that. Thanks for sharing that, Vince Carter Mars. Also one of the best handles on YouTube. Let's see. We had a jump. Where were we? That was Vince Carter Mars. Okay, now we move on. ZOMG Ruler writes, can Myth Snyder Cut be adapted for animation or comics? No. Number one, there is no such thing as a Snyder Cut. There's certainly assembly edits. That's what like every director does. There are certainly Zack Snyder, but as Zack Snyder said himself from the stage, sure, I have cuts of the movie. It's just up to Warner Brothers to finish it and release it. So sure, there are assembly cuts. Every director has assembly cuts. There's no doubt there are Zack Snyder assembly cuts of the movie, for sure. Absolutely there are. But is there a cut where the movie is finalized edited, where it has color correction done on it, where it has all the post done on it, where the music has been composed to it, where the visual effects have been done on it, and where it's been put all through its final stages ready for presentation? No. Such a thing does not exist, and Warner Brothers is not about to spend millions upon millions of dollars to make that happen. Doesn't exist. Also, remember, Warner Brothers got rid of Zack Snyder specifically because they did not like the movie that he was putting together. Why would Warner Brothers then spend money and put out a competitive version of Justice League to their definitive Justice League movie for a movie they never wanted made in the first place and they didn't like in the first place? No, won't happen. Solomon Hall writes, what if Sidious wants to use essence transfer on Kylo? Then he will have his army, the First Order, and his revenge, Rise of Skywalker. It's possible. But essence transfer is not something they've really done in the movies. So we don't know. It's not canon. As of right now, that's not canon. But, I mean, some people have raised the possibility, what if he's, could it be possible that Sidious is looking for a new apprentice? And who better than Kylo Ren? So maybe he goes after Kylo Ren. Does he look over to take off over his body? I don't know. Lots of different possibilities there, I suppose. But essence transfer is one I don't think they'll do. It's possible, though. It's a good thought. It's certainly, add that to the list of things that are absolutely possibilities. I don't think they'll do it, but it's possible. River Elder writes, here's $2 for your sequel reboot rant. #respect. Thank you so much. I'm thinking you're probably talking about the one I did on the companion video earlier today. So thank you for that, River. I appreciate that, man. And I felt bad though doing that one because honestly, I didn't communicate it right because the way I'm fine with getting worked up on an issue, but I felt bad because the guy who asked the question, Madsif, I think was his name, I think I handled it wrong because I think I said it in such a way that made it sound like I was taking it out on him and I didn't mean to. And I think sometimes, you do this for as long as I have and you sometimes forget you're talking to people, right? And I hope he didn't take it personally. And I stopped myself and say, hey, dude, I know it sounds like I'm taking it out on you and I'm not. You're just asking a question. Cool. So I hope I made that clear. But because sometimes, what? Campea can get carried away? No. Sometimes I get a little carried away when I'm doing this stuff. I acknowledge that. And I just hope he never felt like I was making him the target of it. You know what I mean? Because sometimes someone will ask a question, I'll get really worked up about the question. And I just hope that people understand when I'm answering the question, I'm addressing the question. I'm not targeting the person who's asked. So I need to be aware of that. It's not something I should let myself forget. And so, but anyway, I appreciate that, River. Thanks for pointing that out. All right. David Goldstein writes, do you think after episode 9, we will go another 13 years without a theatrical Star Wars movie? Oh, no, not at all. This is a money printing machine. Are you kidding me? This is a money printing machine. They're just launching the Galaxy's Edge Star Wars Land stuff at Disney. Oh, there's going to be more movies. Yeah, you better believe. Maybe not one next year. Maybe not one the year after that. But there are going to be more movies, and we're not waiting 13 years. Pedro Brissain writes, hey, John, what's your favorite character arc? In what? in Star Wars, in Lord of the Rings, in books, you got to be a little bit more specific than that. Out of millions of, I don't know. You got to be a little bit more specific than that, Peter. So because I don't know where we're going with that, dude. Anthony R. writes, the next Star Wars saga needs to be planned out. No more appealing to our nostalgia. New characters and stories from scratch, set in the future. No descendants of anyone. No original trilogy joys or Chieftain Chewbacca. Yeah, like, I'm fine with all that stuff here. Like, somebody wrote to me and said, John, you said you don't like it when they shrink the universe, so how come you're okay with Palpatine being in it? Because Palpatine's already a part of the main Skywalker saga. Palpatine has been a part of the main Skywalker saga since the beginning of it. To me, having Palpatine in it is not shrinking the universe. You know what would be shrinking the universe? Magically connecting these characters, like saying, oh, Rey is actually Palpatine's granddaughter. That's shrinking the universe. Having Palpatine there, who is already there, he's already a part of the main saga, that's not shrinking the universe. Now, though, you step outside of the main saga and you keep just using characters from the main saga, that to me is also shrinking the universe. For instance, I'm perfectly good with Palpatine being in a Star Wars Skywalker Saga Episode 9. Perfectly good with that. You know what I don't want? I don't want an anthology movie about Palpatine. It's like, come on, guys. If you're stepping outside of the Skywalker saga, do something different. Why are we doing a Han Solo? And I thought the Han Solo movie was a hell of a lot of fun, but why the hell are we making a Solo movie without Harrison Ford? We just had Solo in the main thing. If we're going to make anthology movies, why don't we expand the universe a little bit? At least Rogue One covered stuff that we never knew before and covered with brand new characters. There were a couple of familiar faces that popped up, but for the most part, it was all new characters, told a story we've never understood or knew before. All great. I don't really want a young Yoda show or a young Yoda movie. I don't want a teenager Chewbacca movie. I don't want a, Jabba the Hutt movie back when he was an aspiring law student and then got caught up into a world of crime. That's shrinking the universe. But if we're talking about the existing Skywalker saga anyway, then having characters who are already a part of that saga, that's just consistent. Lando popping up to me is not shrinking the universe. Suddenly saying that Finn is Lando's long-lost son, that's shrinking the universe. Doing a spin-off young Lando movie, that's shrinking the universe. Having Lando in the Skywalker saga when he's already a part of the Skywalker saga is not shrinking the universe. That's how I see it. And I agree. If we are wrapping up the Skywalker saga now, and we're saying this is the end, then I agree. It's time to move on. No more R2. I love R2, but no more R2. No more 3PO. I love 3PO. I love 3PO, but no more 3PO. A lot of these characters, it's time to move on. Fine, use Rey in more movies, use Poe in more movies, use Finn in more movies, but it's time to move on from those core Skywalker saga characters and move forward. So I'm completely with you on that, Anthony. I really am. I'm totally fine with what they're doing for episode 9, but once that's done and you're outside of that Skywalker saga, move on, my friends. Pardon me. Just time to move on. All right. DBZ now writes, am I the only one hyped for WB streaming service? Yeah, probably. I mean, look, right now we don't really know anything about it. We don't know what's coming. I'm sure a lot more people will get more excited once they really start showcasing what it is they're going to be doing. But as of right now, I don't feel the need to be excited about it. Just like I wasn't all that excited about a Disney streaming service until they started a while ago letting us know, oh, by the way, you can look forward to this coming and this. Then I started to get excited about it. Give us a little bit of time to get on board with the WB one. Factual Opinion writes, can't wait for It Chapter 2 and Dr. Sleep. Loved Pet Sematary. Still haven't seen Pet Sematary. I got to get out to see that. I'm getting more and more curious about Dr. Sleep. They showed us a bunch of behind the scenes stuff from Dr. Sleep at Las Vegas CinemaCon a couple weeks ago. Looks great. Ewan McGregor's in there. Cannot wait to see that. And they showed us a big 5-minute scene of It Chapter 2 that looked fantastic. I can't tell you about it, but looked great. I'm looking forward to all these Factual Opinion. Eli Schneider writes, Thoughts on Missing Link? Haven't seen it. Not interested in it. I'm hearing good things about it, but nothing about the trailers appealed to me, so I took a pass on, so I haven't seen it myself. Dim5 writes, one of two. These are the Cubans, baby. This is the Cohibas. I can't pronounce any of that. This is a kinetic kill Sidewinder vehicle with a secondary something DX burst. It's capable of busting the bunker. Under the bunker, you were just busted. If it were any smarter, it would write a book that would make Ulysses look like it was written in crayon. I would read it to you. This is my Eiffel Tower. This is my Ramenos third, my Pieta. It's blah, 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 blah. Structures here. I call it the ex-wife. I have no, that sounds like something I would have seen. Dim Sum, that is, by the way, kudos to you, man. Like, you found that quote and you went full blown on that quote. That's kudos to you, sir. I have no idea what that is. These are the Cubans, baby. This is the Kiobas, the Monte Cristo. This is a kinetic kill Sidewinder vehicle with a second. I don't know what that is. I'm not thinking of it. I'll probably kick myself. Once I actually realize what it was, I'll probably kick myself, but I'm not thinking of it off the top of my head. But kudos to you, man. You went right for that one. Factual Opinion writes, Jessica Jones and Into the Badlands will end this year. I hope it won't end with a cliffhanger. I don't think they knew they got axed when they filmed. I'll be honest with you, Factual Opinion. I'm not a fan of Jessica Jones. I haven't liked the show at all. I didn't like the first season. I thought the second season was a little bit of an improvement, but even then I didn't end up liking it. So I really could care less. I'll be honest with you. I'm probably not even going to watch Jessica Jones season 3. If I'm being honest, I'm probably not even going to watch it. I don't know why I would waste my time when I haven't liked the first 2 seasons. As far as Into the Badlands go, man, I loved that show season 1. Season 1, I loved that show. It kind of started going downhill for me after season 1. Season 2, I still dug season 2, but it just started, I don't know, it started getting a little bit screwy. Yeah, I'll say I still like season 2. I did. I like season 2, but I loved season 1. It just turned into a different show than I thought it started out being, you know what I mean? So I probably won't watch the final season of Badlands either. There's just too much other good stuff on TV that I am excited about that I barely have time to watch. So I'm probably not going to use my time to watch Jessica Jones or the final season of Badlands. I never liked Jessica Jones, and while I loved Badlands season 1, it really kind of fell off for me. Although I do like Nick Frost in that show quite a bit, I gotta say. John DeBenedict writes, Hey John, just watched the Mandalorian panel, no footage shown in the stream, but I definitely felt the passion from the people on the stage talking about this project, especially Favreau and Filoni. And of course, everybody's got to, look, say anything you want. Kathleen Kennedy is the one who brought this, Kathleen Kennedy is the one who made this possible. So people got to thank her for that too. I did see somebody recorded the footage they showed and put it up on YouTube. I saw that footage. I don't know if it's still up there online. Looks exciting. I'm very excited to see this show, man. This Western, gritty, Western in space kind of story with Pedro Pascal in the lead. Carl Weathers is in there. I mean, to me, there's nothing to not be excited about when it comes to The Mandalorian. So I haven't seen the panel itself. I only saw the footage they showed because I've been busy all day. I've been working. I did another video earlier. I'm doing this one now. I got friends coming over later. I had some other work I had to do. Got to upgrade my computer to add another camera, all this kind of nonsense. But so I haven't had a chance to watch the panel yet, but I am excited to see it because I'm hearing great things, John, that people like you are talking about. All right. John DeBenedict follows it up. Also, Carl Weathers for the win. I love that Carl Weathers is in this. And I think his name is Grief. I think I read that his name is Grief or Gref or something like that. Anyways, cool name. I cannot wait to see Carl Weathers in this. All right, Eddie Burton writes, love David Harbour as Hellboy. The movie was weak. I'm kind of in the same place. I didn't think the movie was horrible, but I also didn't think it was good. But David Harbour was a great Hellboy. I really did like him as Hellboy, so I'd be curious, even though I didn't think the first one was good, I'd be curious to see a sequel. All right. Zane Ramos writes, controversial theory and twist for Rise of Skywalker. Rey is the daughter of Luke and Leia. Pure Skywalker bloodline. What? No. No. Luke and Leia didn't hook up and have an incest. No. This isn't Game of Thrones. No. That they are not. I feel I never want to say 0% chance about anything, but I will guarantee you right now that is this big 0% chance on that. Absolute 100% goose egg, 0% chance. No way, Zane, that's happening. The Incredible Kyle writes, he's back. Congrats to Tiger Woods. Yeah, Tiger Woods winning the Masters. Who would have thought, man? A lot of people had written him off. Understandably so. It's been forever since he won anything. For him to come back and win another Masters. Unbelievable. So you're right. Congrats to him on that. Lee Mallinson writes, thought Instant Family would be another disposable comedy. How wrong I was. A really sweet film and even learned a lot about the adoption process. It was a really nice little film, and I completely agree with you. Okay, Mark Wahlberg, family comedy. Whoa, look at him. He adopts some kids that he's not ready for. Let the hijinks begin. It's a lot more heart to it than you'd think. It really did. Had a lot more heart to it than I thought it would. I thought it was really sweet in some parts, tender, and it had laughs. Look, was it in my top 10 favorite of the year? No, but it was definitely well above exactly the way you put it, Lee. Like, I thought it was going to be a disposable throwaway movie, and it wasn't. It was actually a really sweet, nice little film. And if you haven't had a chance to check it out yet, you got a date night coming up where you're hanging at home, rent Instant Family. It's really actually quite nice. It's a quite nice little film. I was pleasantly surprised by it. Apparently so was Lee. All right, let's see. Garrett Couch writes, Boba Fett is overhyped in my opinion. Vader captured Solo, freezes him for easy transport. Then in Return of the Jedi, Fett falls into the Sarlacc pit by a blind Solo with a stick. Okay, yes, but Vader only got Luke, or only got Solo, because Boba Fett's the one who found him. Where the entire Imperial Navy got tricked out by Solo with his float away with the garbage trick, Boba Fett saw through that. Boba Fett found him, tracked him, and then say, hey Vader, you want Solo? There's where he is. It was him that got him. Now remember, we're only basing things on the limited amount of things we got to see Boba Fett do in the movies. But by reputation, what he has done off screen is he is the most feared bounty hunter in the galaxy. He's the one who got Solo when the entire Imperial Navy couldn't find him. And yes, at the end, he got caught off guard by a Jedi showing up with his lightsaber and all that kind of stuff, and he got knocked into the Sarlacc pit. Okay, it happens. But I don't think he's overhyped. I think he's great. Anyway, let's see. Trevor Macy writes, great night of sports with UFC and upsets with the NBA. Yeah, my Raptors lost, dude. But again, that UFC, the two headline fights were fight of the year candidates, both of them. Just both of them with two guys in the ring, putting their heart on the line, throwing everything they had, taking shots that would have put most of us in the hospital, and just kept moving forward. It ain't about how hard you hit, it's about how hard you get hit and keep moving forward. That was these two fights last night. Stylebender, Gastelum, that was it ain't about how hard you hit, it's about how hard you get hit. That explains that fight in a nutshell. And the Max Holloway, Dustin Poirier fight, exact same thing. It was inspiring to watch those fights, man. It was just great. 4 amazing warriors in there just doing their thing, and it was fabulous to watch. Let's see. Christopher James writes, Sophie's Choice, your Disney forced to keep one franchise, Star Wars or Marvel, which do you choose? Oh God, I don't know, man. I mean, what franchise is going to make the most money in the next 3 years? Marvel. What franchise is going to make the most money in the next 30 years? Because that's what you got to ask. You can't ask yourself what makes the most money in the next 3 years. You got to ask yourself what makes the most money in the next 30 years. We know Star Wars endures decade after decade after decade after decade. We know Star Wars does. At some point, it ain't happening today, but at some point there will be a ceiling where comic book movies run out of steam, and then they'll go away, and then they'll come back, then whatever. But Star Wars, you know, is going to be around for another 50, 60 years. You just know it because it's already been around for generations. So even though I will take a big financial hit in the short term, after Endgame airs, if I have to axe one, I axe Marvel. Just because I believe that's the smarter long-term play. There's evidence of that. There's proof of that. Star Wars has endured decade after decade after decade after decade from the generation of your grandfather to your dad to you to your kid. Star Wars has endured. Does Marvel have that kind of staying power? We don't know. Maybe. I doubt it. I doubt that for anything. So if I had to make that choice, only because I believe Star Wars will still be Star Wars 30 years from now, and I don't know if anybody's still making comic book movies 30 years from now. We just don't know because there's no precedent here for us to see. I'll go Star Wars in that, but you're right. It's a Sophie's choice. I'd rather not make that decision at all. I think I would rather just quit my job. I think I would, wait a minute. I'm in charge of Disney and I got to choose axing one of these things. I just quit. Thank you very much. Let somebody else make that decision. That's probably how I respond to that, Christopher. John Harrison writes, "Hey, John, what I meant yesterday was the shaking of hands between Cap and Tony and people saying it was Ant-Man. I thought it might be Tony and Spider-Man. That's why the passport is blank in Far From Home." Well, I mean, I've speculated for a long time. Like, remember when that trailer for Far From Home came out, I was the first one to grab a screenshot, post it on social media and say, guys, look, there's no dates in his passport. They're keeping the year out. What are they hiding, right? I don't know that that at all implies that that's Tony shaking the hand of Spider-Man. I don't think we're going to see Spider-Man again till at least the second half of the film. And if anything that Kevin Feige says is to be believed, that almost everything we've seen so far has been from the first half of the movie. So I'm going to go, no, I don't think that's the case. But I do believe, as I have since the first day that trailer came out, that them not showing the date is for something. We're not going to know why they're not showing us the date until after we see this movie, until after we see Endgame. But I'm with you, John. I think there's a meaning there. Does it have something to do with him shaking hands with Tony Stark? I don't think so. I just don't see any way that they bring that about at this point. Nor do I see a purpose for it. But who knows? Maybe once we see the movie, we'll start seeing that purpose. Thanks for clarifying that, John. I really appreciate it, man. All right. John DeBenedict writes, "I just spent the last week rewatching all the MCU films in preparation for Endgame. Nice to refresh the memory. You never know what element or character from way back will come back. Example, Red Skull." It's true. It's always fun to catch up on these films. I mean, I know I'll probably watch Infinity War again this week sometime at home. At some point, I'll sit down and watch Infinity War again. And I just watched Winter Soldier like twice in the last month and a half. I just watched Civil War a couple of weeks ago again. I'll probably watch the first Guardians of the Galaxy again. But I got one or two I'm going to watch again this week, including Infinity War, that I'll watch this week before seeing Endgame. So, it is, you're right, DeBenedict, it is always nice to get caught back up and then head in there and see what kind of surprises they have in store for us. It's unbelievable. It's so close, right? Flip the USB twice writes, "Over under 30% will see a prequel era Star Wars movie in the next 10 years. As a prequels fan, episode 3 is my favorite Star Wars movie. I've been kind of sad for the lack of any prequel era stories. I'll take under 30%. I honestly feel like Star Wars has done a lot to kind of bury the prequels. And I don't think they want to revisit that timeline. I really don't. And now, do I think we'll go back earlier than the prequels? Yes. Do I think we'll get Old Republic era stuff? Yes. I do believe that, but I don't think we're going to see prequel era movies in the next 10 years. 10 years is an eternity, though. I mean, that I should say. 10 years is an eternity. Anything could happen in 10 years. But even at 10 years, I'll take under 30%. Not zero, not 1%, not 2, but I will take under 30% on that. Mike Hill writes, "Apologies, John. I mistyped my what if question and meant, do you think Thanos can revive Gamora with the Time Stone as a moment in time like he did with Vision Eve?" I don't know what Vision Eve is, but I know what you're saying. I don't think so. I don't think that's something he can undo. I don't even know it's something that the Infinity Stones would allow to happen. You know, like, okay, you can get the Infinity Stone, but only if you sacrifice that which you love. But don't worry, we'll let you get back that thing which you love. So I'm going to go no, because... well, there you go. No, he can't. Because if he did, he undoes what he did. Because if he goes back to time, if he rewinds time to where he threw Gamora off the cliff and doesn't throw her off the cliff, then he doesn't get the Soul Stone and he isn't able to accomplish his life's mission, which is snapping half of reality out of existence. So, no. If he goes back to that point in time and doesn't kill Gamora, then he doesn't get the Soul Stone and he isn't able to snap things out of existence. So, yeah, I'm going to say that pretty definitively says no, I don't think he can do that. Mike Hill writes, even with the damaged gauntlet, but again, it's not a matter of, the gauntlet can't just reach back in time and pluck something out of time and bring it into the present. He can rewind time and go to a point in time, but then he has to undo what he did, and I don't think he'd be willing to do that. So that's my thought on that, Mike, I think. There might be things I'm not thinking about, but that's where I'm going to stick on right now. Anthony R. writes, Palpatine was 88 in Return of the Jedi. In Episode 9, he would be 119 years old. Thank you for doing the math on that, Anthony. And again, I just don't know, how old do people on Naboo? Because he's apparently native Naboo, I think. How long do people generally live there? Do they live to be 200? Do they live to be 90? Do they live to be 120? And then being so infused with the dark side of the Force and doing all of his machinations, does he give himself a natural long life? Maybe, I don't know, but I'm glad you did the math on that, Anthony. Thank you for that, sir. Corey Odenbreet writes, hey, John, used my A-list for the first time last night to see Shazam, and it was awesome. First of all, there's two awesome things in there. Number one, A-list. A-list is the best thing to ever happen to movie fandom. It just is. It's the best thing to ever happen to movie fandom. $23 a month. At least that's what I pay now. Understanding, though, that the movie theater I go to costs $22 for one ticket. So $23 for basically all the movies you can see. Okay, there's a limit of 12, 3 movies a week, but still. For me, it pays for itself when I go see one movie. You can book your tickets in advance online. You get credit for it's amazing. It's the best thing ever. I'm glad you got it, and I'm glad you're taking advantage of it as a film fan. And Shazam is a great one to go see. God, I love this movie. I love Shazam. Love this movie. My favorite comic book movie of the year so far. Probably until I see Endgame. Cobra writes, Star Wars now doing fake deaths. Well, see, here's the thing. And I mentioned this about DC, which DC doesn't do fake deaths nearly as much as Marvel. Like, I'll complain about Marvel and how much they do fake deaths. Okay. Then somebody said, but John, DC did it with Superman. Yeah, but doing it once or twice or whatever is one thing. Marvel has literally done it a dozen times or more. And they're just about to do it on a massive scale when they bring everybody back from the snapping, right? Like, the snapping is going to get undone, whether it's undone through time travel or warped reality or a literal unsnapping, whatever. But the snapping, they're about to do it again on a massive scale. A franchise or a movie doing that once or twice, you can have impact. It's when you do it every single freaking time that it loses impact. Because we're sitting there watching the movie. It's like, oh, because like I'm watching Captain America Winter Soldier with a friend of mine who had never seen it before, Aaron. She'd never seen it before. They get to the scene where Nick Fury dies. She goes, oh, well, he's not really dead. It's like, why do you say that? Well, I've seen some MCU movies. I know nobody ever stays dead. So she knew. So at the end of Winter Soldier, when he does come back, it didn't surprise her at all. It had no impact on her at all because she knew. Oh yeah, the people that die, they always come back. So no, he's fine. With Star Wars, doing that once with like a Palpatine after 40 years, not 5 minutes later, not one movie later, but after 40 years or 30 years or whatever, however long it's been since Return of the Jedi, I'll give it a pass on that, like I give a pass to DC. It's when you get something like Marvel that does it time after time after time after time in every single frickin' movie, then you start to lose your impact. So like, I'm watching Spider-Man going, I don't want to go, Mr. Stark, I don't want to go. I should have been tearing up. I should have been tearing up, but it's like, oh, they'll be back. They'll be back. It was still a great scene. Don't get me wrong. It was still a magnificent scene, but I didn't feel anything because I knew they're coming back. Oh no, Black Panther's dying. Oh no, but he's coming back. I know he's coming back, so what's the deal? Who cares? Oh no, Sam is turning to dust. Oh no, poor Captain America's gonna be so sad. Oh, it doesn't matter. He's coming back. You just know they're all coming back. You never thought Solo was coming. When Solo died, because they don't pull that crap all the time in Star Wars, when Solo died, you felt it because you knew he was dead. When they killed characters in The Sopranos, you felt it because you knew they were dead. When they killed characters in Sons of Anarchy, you felt it because you knew they were dead. But in Marvel, somebody dies, like, they'll be back. They'll be back. Because that's what Marvel does. They'll be back. And I love the MCU. You all know I love the Marvel movies. I love the MCU. Love it passionately. But it is fair to say that the one thing they've kind of undermined themselves is the constant use of the fake death over and over and over and over again. And so other franchises can do it with some effect once or twice, but then it gets a little bit ridiculous. Anyway, that's just me. Let's see. Matsiv Jada writes, John, I didn't mean remakes and sequels are lazy. I was referring to remakes and sequels that are lazy and uninspired. Anyway, keep up the epic owning. Well, I mean, here's the thing, Matsiv. Any movie, be it sequel, prequel, remake, reboot, original, based on a book, based on a comic book, based on a TV show, based on an original idea, any movie can be lazy and uninspired. Any movie can. Lots of original movies suck. Lots of remakes suck. Lots of sequels suck. Lots of movies suck. And a bunch of them are pretty good. Be they original, remake, sequels. I don't hear people celebrating movies that suck. But you also have to understand that all film is subjective. And just because there's a movie you may not like, or I may not like, if there's a movie that I think is particularly uninspired and lazy, doesn't mean everybody else is going to. And if they saw that movie and it hit them in a certain way and it worked for them, then who am I to say that, oh, they're just celebrating something that's lazy and uninspired? That's not my place. I can say that I didn't like that movie. I can say it didn't work for me. I can say I think that's a bad movie. Fine. But that doesn't take away somebody else's right for the movie hitting them a different way and enjoying it. That's why, look, I hate the prequels. Everybody knows I hate the prequels. If you ask me about the prequels, I will tell you I hate the prequels. But I will never poo-poo on somebody for loving the prequels. Because if you watch those movies and they worked for you, awesome. I celebrate that. I love the fact that something that didn't work for me, that somebody did get joy and excitement and fun out of that. That's great. It doesn't change the fact that it didn't work for me and I find them to be terrible movies, and that's fine, but I'm allowed to feel that way, and you're allowed to feel that way, and we can all be film fans together, right? So, anyway, that's just how I kind of see it, Matsiv. So, no worries, man. I appreciate you, dude. I appreciate you for sending that in and clarifying your spot on that. I appreciate that. All right, Holland Love writes, just wanted to give a shout out to my fellow Patreons. They're always there with a laugh, a smile, discussion when I need it. Hashtag Filthians. Ooh, I like that, Holland. Filthians. I like that very much, actually. Yeah, we have, and thank you for giving me an excuse to plug the Patreon, Holland. We have a great community of Patreon supporters. And by the way, guys, I'll just take advantage of this and pull this up right now. If you guys enjoy my content, do me a favor. Head on over to www.patreon.com/John Campea. Get all the information about what it means to be a Patreon supporter, how being a Patreon supporter keeps my shows on the air, and also a couple of the little perks there are to being a Patreon supporter. But we've got a great Facebook group that I'm popping in and reading all the time. Just a very active Facebook group of our Patreon supporters. Our Patreon supporters do a lot of exchanges, and they come in here. It's a great little community. So I thank you for sharing that, Holland. Thanks for the shout out to that. All right. Roy L writes, going to be part of the audience for American Ninja Warrior during the Game of Thrones tonight. Wow. But no worries. I have HBO Go. So excited. First of all, I would love to go to an American Ninja Warrior live taping. That would be insane. I don't know why. I don't go out of my way to watch American Ninja Warrior, but when it's on, I can't help but stop channel surfing at that point. I go, okay, because I'm always blown away by the crap these people can do. Like, it's just physically unimaginable the stuff these guys do. I always get a lot of fun in that. And right, that's why HBO Go is there, my friend. Paul Licari writes, over under 50%, joke in Endgame about both being called Cap. I don't know that Captain Marvel was ever officially given the moniker Captain Marvel. Right? I don't think she was ever officially given the moniker Captain Marvel. We know her as Captain Marvel, but she's Carol Danvers. Everybody just refers to her as Danvers or Carol Danvers or Veers, as they called her. So I don't know. I'll take the under 50%, but I'm not saying it's super low. Like, I'm not saying it's like a 10% chance. I think it's more than that, but I'll take under 50% on that for now. Luke Blackwell writes, UFC recap, John. Fabulous fights last night. That's my recap. Will I do a recap show of UFC? I just don't have time to do it. Dude, I'm still behind on my Captain Marvel questions. I'm still behind on that, and I got no excuse for it other than the fact that I've been busy. So unfortunately, I have no time to do UFC recaps, although I would love to, believe me, I would, but I just got no time. Colby Harris writes, will shows like Hannah Montana or Sweet Life be on Disney Plus? I don't imagine why not. I don't see why not. I'm going to guess yeah. I have no insider information on that, but my guess will be yes. David J. Lloyd writes, have you seen Brother Bear with Joaquin Phoenix? I want to say yes, but let me double check that. I take that back. No, I have not seen Brother Bear. To the best of my knowledge, no. Now, for anybody who's wondering, it's an animated film. Joaquin Phoenix isn't in the movie. He just does one of the voices. So no, it's not what I was thinking of. That I have not seen that movie, to be honest with you. DMV fan 123 writes, Fallen Order, though, already pre-ordered for PS4. Yeah, I mean, it was a cool trailer, but they didn't give you any sense of the gameplay in it. What's that? What's the point in showing us a promo for a game if you're not showing us what the game is like? Like, is it just me? Am I crazy? Like, if you're trying to convince me that I should buy a game, shouldn't you show me what it's like to play the game? I don't know. Instead, it was just a bunch of cinematics, and it was cool, but I was a little bit put off by the fact that you didn't actually show us any gameplay. What's this game? What's the nature of this game? What am I playing if I play this game? And they didn't give us any of that. So I gotta tell you, at the end of the day, I felt a little bit underwhelmed. Yeah, the cinematics were cool, but I want to see gameplay. Anyway, Jordy1 Kenobi writes, I like that name. It's my birthday. Happy birthday, Jordy. I hope you have a great one. If you could go back in time and watch any film for the first time again, what would you watch? Huge fan of yours, John. Thank you so much, Jordy. Man, if I could go back and watch a movie again for the first time, I mean, a couple come to mind. Obviously, there's the original Star Wars or Return of the Jedi, which is my favorite Star Wars movie. But then there's The Avengers, which I think is the greatest comic book movie ever made, the original Avengers. Or, you know what? Not because it's my favorite, but because of that experience, I might go Lord of the Rings, Return of the King. Yeah, I think maybe I'll go Lord of the Rings, Return of the King. It would be the one maybe I would pick. But I mean, it's one of those questions where I might give a different answer every single day, depending on the day you catch me on, right? So there's that. But anyway, Jordy, happy birthday to you, sir. I hope you have a fabulous one, buddy. All right. Starfire XXX writes, would you consider discussing your D&D games you play in the adventure? I assume you all use pre-made characters. Funny, he likes monsters you face, etc. I thought about it. No, we don't use pre-made characters. We created all of our characters from scratch. My character's name is Darwin. He's a human ranger. I don't know. See, now a lot of people ask, you should live stream your games. But the problem is, if you're live streaming your games, we play with a bunch of friends. And friends don't want to be guarded about what they say because they know there are 1,000 people watching them. You know, because, look, there are things you can say and jokes you can make because your friends know you and they'd be funny and jokes. But then if suddenly there's 1,000 strangers watching you make a joke and somebody who doesn't know you hears you say that joke, say, oh, And all of a sudden it's the big thing. This person's a jerk because they made this joke. And it's like, blah. Suddenly now you can't be comfortable and just have fun with your friends playing a game because you're always having to be aware that there are 1,000 strangers watching, or 5,000 strangers, or 50,000 strangers, or whatever watching us right now. Now everybody's guarded and not relaxed and not having fun. So, I mean, I can do it because I'm used to being on camera all the time, but my friends aren't. So, I don't know. I don't know. I mean, Anne is into D&D even more than I am. So me and Anne have talked about maybe doing a D&D show, just talking about Dungeons and Dragons, and maybe we'll do that at some point. We'll have to wait and see. Kaylin the Alien writes, first of all, generous super chat, Kaylin. Thank you so much for sending that in. And I love the name. Your thoughts on the Amazon $1 billion Lord of the Rings original series? They're going back to New Zealand to recycle old sets. Set during the Silmarillion storyline. What actors are attached to the project do you know? Nope, don't know anything. All I know is that it takes place, oh crap, is it the Second Age? It takes place, I believe, in the Second Age. Now, the Second Age is, of course, the end of the Second Age is shown in the flashback in Lord of the Rings when the armies of men and elves marched against Sauron and defeated Sauron and cut the ring off his hand. That was the end of the Second Age. This movie takes place in the Second Age, so prior to those events. And so I don't think they're going to be recycling old sets because this thing happens hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years before the events of The Lord of the Rings. So they're going to go back to that world so it has the same feel, but I don't know that they're reusing same sets. As far as casting and everything goes, no idea. All I know is that I'm very excited about it. They're clearly putting a lot of money into it. Every network and streaming service right now is looking for their Game of Thrones. So, you know, one network is doing The Witcher. That's supposed to be their Game of Thrones. We've got the Lord of the Rings show coming. That's their Game of Thrones. Like, everybody's trying to develop their Game of Thrones right now. But I am excited for it. And I'm excited that they're going to that age. And I don't know anything about casting yet at this point, but I'm stoked about it. It's cool to see Amazon making a big commitment to it by investing $1 billion into it. That's a huge commitment. That means they're deadly serious about it. That doesn't guarantee it's going to be good. Does not guarantee it's going to be good. But we know they're going to put everything they got into it, and I'm excited about it, Kaylin. I'm really, really excited. As soon as I know anything more about it, though, you guys will be the first ones to know. Okay, let's see. Connor Dixon writes, enjoyed Shazam and was really surprised with Captain Marvel. I love both of those movies, but I give a slight edge to Shazam, even though they're two radically different films. But I like them both very, very much, but especially Shazam, I gotta say. Kaylin the Alien follows up with, in your opinion, should sex scenes be implicit or explicit in feature-length commercial films? Is there really a wrong way to handle them? I think it all depends. Look, the thing about sex scenes is the same thing about violence, right? I think there are times when certain violence isn't needed to get across what it is you're trying to get across to your audience. But sometimes I feel like graphic violence is needed to get the response from the audience that you want to get from them in that particular moment, right? So I do believe in that. I believe there's times when you don't need violence to be that graphic. And sometimes people use graphic violence when it's not even necessary. But I also believe there is a time and a place for really over-the-top graphic violence to get a sort of visceral response from the audience that you want to get from them at that point. And it's important to the overall experience of the movie. I believe in that. I believe the same thing is true for sexual content. I believe most movies, you don't need explicit stuff to get across what you're trying to get across. I believe in that. Now, don't get me wrong, I got no problem with the filthy. Obviously, I love the filthy. Bring on the filthy. I love the filthy. But it's all about doing it in the right place and time. And so I believe there are times and moments when, you know, an implied sex scene won't create that visceral response from the audience, that more deeply rooted response as being more graphic would, right? And so I do believe there is a time and a place for graphic sexuality. I believe there's a time and a place. I believe it is overused, yes. I believe it is used sometimes when it's not needed, yes. But I do believe sometimes there's a time and a place when it's called for to get the response and put the audience in the emotional place you want them to be in, whatever that emotion is. So it really is a case-by-case basis, Kaylin. You know, it's a topic that we don't talk a lot about, but we probably should, because it is art, and art is supposed to be a reflection of the human experience. And depending on what you're trying to get out of the audience, I think it's just another tool that can be used that unfortunately is sometimes misused. But yeah, I believe there is a time and a place for it. Not often and not always, but I believe there's a time and a place for it. All right, Eric Saul writes, took off work as soon as I got my ticket for Endgame. Instead, boss gave another Eric off, and now I'm stuck at work. Oh, wait a minute. Thursday night, I'm living. Really? Oh, that sucks, dude. That sucks. But you know what? Here's the good thing. The good thing is this. Plenty of screenings over the weekend. It sucks you won't be able to be there opening night. That does suck, and I feel for you, my brother. But the good news is there'll be plenty of screenings, plenty of showings. Stay off social media for about 24 hours to 48 hours so you don't get anything ruined for you. Pick up your tickets to whatever your next screening is and go there. I mean, it does suck, but the good news is it's only a momentary inconvenience, and you will get to enjoy it, Eric. Just my wholehearted recommendation is stay off social media for about 48 hours until you see it. That's my recommendation. All right, let's see here. Green Arrow writes, I love the flat character arc where the hero knows the thematic truth from the start and changes the world, believes the thematic lie, like MCU Cap. But I don't know if I agree with that, Green Arrow, especially with your connection to Green or to Cap, because Cap, the Captain America we see in Civil War is a different Captain America than we see in the First Avenger, and even a different Captain America than we see in Winter Soldier. We see him grow and evolve as he responds and changes to the world, and doesn't just he himself change the world. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? So I don't know. I mean, I would need to sit down and break down what it is you're saying a little bit more, but I would say I'm not entirely sure that applies to Captain America off the top of my head, but I'd have to break down a little bit more what it is you're saying. But thanks for sharing that, man. All right. Matt Cray writes, still think Snoke is Plagueis. Remember what Palpatine said, he can save others from death, but not himself. I think that ship has sailed. Remember, I believed for a while that Snoke would be Plagueis. I did believe that for a while. But I think that ship has sailed. I think there's been enough said and represented that that's probably not the case. So I would be shocked if they said that was it, but I think there's been enough out there to suggest that it's not. So I think that even though I was once a holder of that theory, I think the ship on that has kind of sailed. All right, Campfire Nipples writes, been following you for a few years now. Thank you so much, Campfire. And I love all that you do, man. Have you heard of Mezco 1 12 figures? They're half the size of Hot Toys and a third of the price. Still addicting hobby, though. I have, and I've seen a number of different things that are 12th scale. I'll be honest with you, though, I'm not as interested in 12th scale. Like, Kotobukiya also does some smaller scale stuff that is really... I've got a couple of Kotobukiya figures here, as a matter of fact. Let me see if I can just... well, like right here, up in the corner, there's my Deadpool's Kotobukiya. You don't see him right now, but I got my Stormtroopers Kotobukiya. I've got a Great Flash figure Kotobukiya. They're actually above where the camera cuts off here. So I'm into them a little bit, but for the most part, I'm really interested in 6 scale figure stuff. That's the stuff I really like, is the 6 scale stuff, or bigger. And what I'd really love to see is a Hot Toys competitor that is more reasonably priced. I mean, don't get me wrong, the Hot Toy stuff is worth it. I mean, the detail and the beauty of those things is so crazy good, but I wouldn't mind seeing another company make some 6 scale stuff that was a little bit more reasonably priced, because I would buy a lot more of them if I could. But yeah, the Mezco stuff I've seen is actually really quite good. I'm just not as invested in the smaller scale stuff as I am into the slightly larger stuff. All right, moving on. Jack Bauer writes, Hey, John, used to watch a channel called Geeks and Gamers. They have bashed you and are complaining Disney took down a live stream, which included leaked footage. I've been on the wrong side of fandom. I mean, look, here's the thing. I have heard about them, and I'm not going to sit here and say anything negative about any channel in by specific name. I don't do that. I'm not going to do that. But I mean, they're one of the channels that I discovered, that I heard about, because a number of people would write to me. Look, there are like 25 channels out there that like to write shit about me, which I think is awesome. I'm not gonna lie. I think is one of the most awesome things in the world. It is an incredible boost to the old ego to know, wait a minute, I'm so important that other YouTube channels are so obsessed with me. If I say something they don't agree with, they gotta make videos about me. I'm that important? Really? It's amazing to me. As a matter of fact, I was talking to Ann the other day, feeling a little bit bummed out, because it's like, she's like, what's wrong? I'm just like, I don't know. I don't think anybody's been making negative videos about me. What am I doing wrong? I have to stir the pot or something, because all these people out there who I'm so vitally important to their lives, they need to make videos about me. And I was kind of bummed out that I haven't seen any lately, but whatever. But that is one of the channels that came to my attention because somebody said, hey, John, this one particular channel amongst 20 others, making these videos about you. And I'm like, whatever. Look, my whole philosophy has always been this. And I have very purposely said I'm never going to make commentary about any other channel by name or specifically. Why? Because I'm here to talk about movies. I'm not here to talk about other people who talk about this stuff. My job here is not to talk about, my job is to be a YouTuber who talks about movies. That's what I love to do. So that's what I'm going to do. My job is not to be here and talk about other YouTubers. That's not what I do. It's not what I want to do. It's not what I want to be about. If other people want to do that, that's on them. But I never want to become one of those channels that my channel is here to talk about other channels. That's not what I'm going to be about. It's not what I want to be about. I did get caught into that trap once, and I kind of responded to somebody that did something once, and I realized that was stupid. I shouldn't have done that, and I shouldn't have. And hopefully I've grown and I've learned. But yeah, I've never mentioned that particular channel nor any of the other channels. I don't mention them because, hey, look, if my whole kind of philosophy that I developed was this: I am clearly important enough that they need to talk about me, but they are clearly not important enough for me to talk about them. It's just not what I want to be. It's not what I want to do. I want to be a place that is known that we get together and talk about our love of movies, even when it's movies that we don't like or movies that we do not like or whatever. I don't want to be known by what I hate. I want to be known by what I love. And maybe I succeed at that, maybe I fail. But the one thing I promised myself a couple of years ago that I was not ever going to be was a YouTube channel that bottom feeds talking about other YouTube channels. It's just not what I'm going to do. And so when 20 plus whatever channels want to make videos about me, that's fine. My subscriptions keep going up. My viewership numbers go up. I love it. Thank you. But it's just not what I want to do. Because I believe this is a philosophy I came up with at AMC. Because like at AMC, sometimes we had people talking about AMC and people saying, should we respond and blah, blah, blah. And what I said was this, and I wholeheartedly believe this. The only guaranteed result you get when you get into a shit slinging contest online, the only guaranteed result when you get into a shit slinging contest is that everybody ends up smelling like shit. That's the only result. I don't want to be a part of that. So if somebody is so obsessed with my opinion on something they do with Star Wars or something they do with Superman or something they do with Mission Impossible or something they do with Avengers, if somebody is so obsessed with me that they have to make their videos about my thoughts on those things, that's on them. Just fine. you go do you. If that's what you are, you go do you. Fine. But it's not what I'm going to be. At least I'm going to try not to. And I'm sure I drop the ball. I'm sure I screw up. I'm sure I make mistakes every single day. Of that, I have no doubt. But it's just not what I want to be and not what I want to do. You know, and I've had a lot of people write to me over the past year or two say, John, this channel and that channel and this channel are writing things about you. Why don't you respond? Because what's the point? If they want to increase my profile and they want to drive more subscribers to me and they want to get me higher numbers, thank you. But it's not what I want to be. If that's what they want to be, no judgment from me. You go be you. But it's not what I want to be. And I'm sure I've dropped the ball on that. I'm sure I've made mistakes on that. I'm sure there are times I've broken my own rule and not even realized it because I'm flawed, I'm imperfect, all that kind of stuff. But it's just not what I want to be. So I never call out these channels by name, never will. I only did right now because you happen to read one, and that's one of the channels that has done stuff like that. And hey, whatever. Everybody gets to choose what they want to be. And I'm going to try to choose what I want to be. I'll succeed at it. I'll fail at it. But at least it's what I'm going to try. So anyway, thanks for sharing, Jack. I appreciate that. But if you're writing to me to hear me then start bashing on something, I'm not going to do that because the only thing that happens when you start slinging shit at each other is everybody ends up smelling like shit. And I kind of smell like shit enough on my own without adding more to it. All right, Michael Burnett. Where's Michael Burnett? Michael Burnett writes, since Palpatine created Anakin, makes sense to involve him in wrapping their story. Hey, look, there is a predominant theory, Michael, that Rise of Skywalker is referring to flashing back to the rise of Anakin Skywalker, and that Palpatine had a role to play in his creation, which is something that has been around for a while, right? So some people believe that that's a part of it. So look, I don't think Anakin is going to be in this movie in any way, shape, or form, but it's one of the possibilities. You got to acknowledge it. It's got to be one of the possibilities. Valhalla Erickson writes, if you could update any concept from the Star Wars mythos, what would it be? Ooh, I don't know. I don't think I would. I'm quite happy. Look, does that mean I love every single little element of Star Wars? Obviously not. There are Star Wars movies that I don't like. There are Star Wars TV shows that I don't like, but it's canon. And I've often, like, some people say to me, John, don't you think they should reboot the prequels and do them over? I'm like, no. But John, you don't like the prequels. True, but I believe in canon. And whether I like the prequels or not is irrelevant. The prequels are canon. That means they're family. And we all got that one druggy uncle who's still living in your grandparents' basement, the embarrassing little brother of your mom or something like that. We all got one of those in our family. And maybe we all wish that dude would get his life together. Maybe we all wish that uncle would live a little bit better. Maybe we all wish that uncle would learn some life lessons and make something out of himself and move out of your grandparents' basement and all that kind of stuff. Maybe, but he's still family. He's still family. And you don't mess with my family. That's what we say, right? You don't mess with my family. Maybe this guy's an embarrassment to our family, but he's still family. And while I don't like the prequels, and I'll talk about if anybody wants to ask me about them, while I don't like the prequels, I will scream and yell and fight to the proverbial death to make sure the integrity of the prequels stays intact. Because while I may not like them, they're canon. That means they're family. So, no, I don't think, unless you're rebooting all of Star Wars, you don't scrap the prequels and redo them over and pretend like they don't exist. I mean, you can ignore them like you can ignore your uncle, but you don't have your uncle taken out, right? And therefore, even though there are things about Star Wars that I don't like, would I change any of it? Probably not, because they're canon. They're family. There might be embarrassing parts of the family, but they are family nonetheless. You don't touch them. So anyway, that's just kind of my thought on that, Valhalla. Let's see. Zach Taylor writes, don't know if this was asked, but which trailer was better, Joker or Episode 9? Ooh. I'll go Joker. Look, I liked the Star Wars Episode 9 trailer. I thought it was solid. I thought it did what it needed to do, and that last little laugh cackle at the end was brilliant. But I thought the Joker trailer as a whole was spectacular. I thought that was a spectacular trailer. So I'm gonna lean a little bit towards the Joker on that one. Hollow Love writes, over under 50.5%. There are no MCU movies in 2020. Oh, under. We already know there is. There's going to be 2. There's already 2 placeholders for MCUs in 2020. So we already know for a fact there are going to be MCU movies in 2020. One of them is probably going to be Black Widow, which goes into production in May. So it'll be ready for a 2020 release. And then one other one. So whether that other one is Eternals or whether that other one is Doctor Strange 2 or whatever, but there are going to be MCU movies in 2020. Mista47 writes, Marvel/DC have been around for decades, since the 30s. There's been comics, shows, games, movies, merch for decades. Superhero genre has been around. Oh yeah, no, the superhero genre has been around, but not the superhero movie genre as it is today. They're different things. That's like saying, well, sci-fi space adventures have been around since the 20s. Well, yes, but Star Wars has been around since the 70s. Yes, there have been other things existing in different kind of forms and mediums, but as far as being the MCU being a predominant thing, it's only been around for 10 years, right? As opposed to Star Wars, it's been around since the 70s. Yes, you can say, but there have been comic books before that. Well, yes, you can say that. But then you can say with Star Wars, well, it's not since the 70s. There's been sci-fi, pop culture stuff, the serials and all that kind of stuff ever since the 20s. Yeah, but that wasn't what we're talking about. We're talking about the Star Wars movies. And the Star Wars movies have been around since the 70s. The MCU, as it were there other things on the printed page in times before that? Sure. But that's like saying the Bible has been around for thousands of years, so biblical movies will be around for different things. So I see that as kind of as a totally different scenario, different mediums, different presentations, different stories, different everything. The MCU, will it be around in 40 years? Oh, that's a very different question. It's only been around for about 10. And the MCU movies are different from the comic books. Those are 2 totally different things. So, yeah, I see that as a difference. I see that as a major difference, Mista. Michael Burnett writes, Sith ghosts can only haunt a location. His throne? Well, is that true? Is that canon? Can Sith ghosts even appear? Because here's the thing. In canon material, there is no precedent for Sith ghosts. However, as another viewer has pointed out, there's also been nothing in canon that explicitly says that it's impossible for Sith to have Force ghosts. It's just that there hasn't been anything in the canon material that says they can, but nothing that says they can't. So that's something we got to keep in mind as we're looking at this stuff. Ash M writes, what if not everyone gets unsnapped in Endgame? Then not everyone gets unsnapped in Endgame. I mean, by the way, we don't even know what's going to happen. We don't know if there's going to be a shift in reality warping. Is there going to be a shift in timeline? Is there going to be a literal unsnap? Well, we just don't know. Until we do, it's almost pointless to kind of speculate about it. Chris Parker writes, you'll do one better, John. What if Gamora got it? Who is Gamora? Where is Gamora? Why is Gamora? What if Gamora? Of course, playing into the whole thing about what if. Guys, please do not just, if you're going to write in something that starts with what if, make sure you actually ask a question. So, like the previous one, what if not everyone gets unsnapped? Okay, what's the question? So just take out the word what. If you take out the word what, you're left with, if not everyone gets unsnapped in Endgame, then what's the question? So don't just make a statement. What if is a statement. Got to ask the question. What are you specifically asking about after that? So Chris is going, I'll do you one better, John. What if Gamora? Is very clever. B. Hertz Herul Ave. I'm sure I'm butchering your name, dude. I'm the worst in the world at names. I apologize for that. I know you said you were underwhelmed with some of the panels for Star Wars, but check out the panel for The Mandalorian, filled with great experiences, explanations, and moments. Favreau and Filoni retrust. Yeah, I'm hearing good things. And by the way, I only saw one panel from Star Wars Celebration. That was the main Episode 9 panel, which I was very underwhelmed with. A couple of good moments. Lando saying, Billy D. Williams saying, Lando's been with me this whole time. That was great too. The Kelly Marie Tran reception. There were some great moments, but overall I was underwhelmed by it. But I am hearing some really good things about the Mandalorian panel. I'm hearing some terrific things about it, so I'm really excited to see it. All right. Emmanuel, where did Emmanuel go? There he is. And by the way, guys, I'm going to ask for no more super chats. If you haven't sent in a super chat, please no more. I want to wrap up the ones that we've got, and then we'll call it a day today. All right, Emmanuel Ericart writes, plot twist. The Emperor was hiding on the Death Star and trained an Ewok as the next Sith Lord. Ewok's true face of evil, finally. By the way, last podcast was great. Oh, thank you so much for that, Emmanuel. Look, I'm telling you what, people sleep on the Ewoks. The Ewoks are murderous, savage, flesh-eating little monsters. Like, they were going to, not only were they going to kill and eat Han Solo and Luke Skywalker and Chewbacca, they were first, before eating them, they were going to burn them alive over the fire. Think about that. The Ewoks didn't have the kindness to slit their throats first and let them die before throwing them on a fire. They were going to burn them alive and hear their screams echo through the forests of Endor as their flesh burned on their bodies. These are the Ewoks, ladies and gentlemen. You best give the Ewoks some respect. Thanks for that, Emmanuel. All right. AS Plaid Movies and Games writes, with a generous super chat. Thanks so much for that, AS Plaid. Appreciate that, man. If Doctor Strange saw beyond his dusting, then he can't be dead. Probably soul imprisoned in stone, as it was made clear with the Ancient One that she could not see beyond the moment of her death. Thoughts? P.S. Love the show. I agree there's some question marks there, but I think that's reading a little bit too into it, because I think one of the things was that she could never see her own life beyond that point. I have to watch it again. Here's how I interpret it as a fan, and I may not be right. Let's be clear about this. I may not be right. I've always kind of interpreted as that she couldn't see what happens with her after that point. And Doctor Strange, I think, he didn't see himself. He couldn't see himself after that point. He knew he was going to die in that point and in that moment. He knew from the moment he looked at the 14 million possible outcomes, he knew he wasn't getting past that one moment. He knew he was done. But that doesn't necessarily mean he couldn't see other outcomes that didn't involve him. Now, again, I may be wrong. I'm just saying that when I saw that first play out, that's how it hit me as an audience member. That was my first interpretation, was that he couldn't see himself past that point because that's where he dies. He can't see beyond that point. But he could see outcomes of other people's stuff beyond that. Again, I could be wrong. I don't think it means Doctor Strange is alive, but we will see how this all kind of plays out in Endgame. Less than weeks away now. Less than weeks away, Esplad. Less than weeks away. All right, thanks for that, man. Michael Bradley writes, if it's all the same to you, I'll have that drink now. Great line from Loki at the end. That kind of says a lot about his character. Like, after he gets defeated by the Avengers and they're all there and Hawkeye's got his bow arch, is like, if it's all the same to you, I'll have that drink now. It's such a Loki thing to say. You know what I mean? I love that line. Alan Connor writes, hopefully Titans doesn't make Batman a jobber. Oh, I agree. But I don't think they will. Look, the one thing I'll say about Titans, I didn't hate Titans. I just thought it was okay. I thought Titans was okay. But they certainly showed Batman to be the ultimate badass in the world. I mean, that's the one thing they did in Titans. That Batman is the baddest man on the planet. That if he turned bad, ain't nobody standing against him. You can do whatever you want. He'll take you all out. He'll take you all out. I mean, even Starfire, granted it was a vision, but Starfire decides to go after Batman. Batman is like, are you kidding me? Boom, dead. So I really don't think they're going to be making him a jobber in any way, shape, or form. Magic K writes, release the Campea cut. There you go. I'll put my own damn cut of Justice League together. Thanks for that, Magic. Steve James writes, best MCU villain besides Loki or Thanos. My pick would be Adrian Toomes from Homecoming. Like, he was great. I'd probably have to go Killmonger. I just thought Michael B. Jordan in Black Panther was a terrific villain. I would put him behind Loki, and I would put him behind Thanos. But I would probably go that way. I thought he was just fantastic in that. Ray writes, my God, The Mandalorian, Endgame, Game of Thrones, my brain. I know it is, as Robert Meyer Burnett says all the time, Ray, it is an embarrassment of riches. What a time to be alive for all this stuff. And Game of Thrones is tonight. But now, after seeing that Mandalorian footage, I just can't wait for that. All right, Chris Parker. Where'd Chris go? Chris Parker puts in a $20 super chat. Thank you so much, Chris. That's really generous, man. At first, I thought titular Skywalker might be Kylo, but now I think it infers Luke's sacrifice. We saw it with Broom Boy. Perhaps pockets of rebellion have popped up across the galaxy, and it's a rise of the name of Skywalker. That is one of the big theories, man. And it's one of the ones, while I myself have not like 100% bought into any one of the particular theories out there right now. I've not bought into any one particular theory. There are several that I think are more likely than others. And I do think one of the likely ones is the new movement become known as Skywalkers, as in the rise of the name. I think that's a definite solid possibility. I'm not necessarily buying into it, but that is one of the more likely ones, I think. And I think the way you describe it kind of shapes it up well. And that, with the Jedi being gone, but Luke did say in episode 8, I am not the last Jedi. So maybe there's a continuation, but there is a thought out there that the new name that they go by, that the new Force user, the new monikers they go by is Skywalkers. They're Skywalkers. And that's definitely a possibility. And just the name of Skywalker, as opposed to it referring to one individual character, is definitely something we got to keep our eye on, because that's a definite possibility, Chris. I completely agree. All right, Haskell 420 writes, hey, John, what a day. The Masters and Tiger winning, big thing. Islanders beating the Penguins, don't remind me. I do love the Islanders, but, the Penguins are my team, other than the Maple Leafs, obviously. To go up 3-0, and Game of Thrones Season 7 marathon on HBO West up to the premiere. Yeah, that's pretty heavy, and of course, we got the premiere of Game of Thrones tonight. Great. If you are a sports and movie fan, it's a crazy couple of days. UFC last night, Tiger winning the Masters. We got the Mandalorian footage coming out. We've got Game of Thrones premiering tonight. We got Endgame coming up in less than it's crazy. It is an absolutely nutty time. I feel like we've said that a million times, but it just keeps worth saying. It is a crazy, amazing time to be here and to be a fan. It's nuts. All right. Michael Burnett writes, sorry, meant makes sense bringing back Palpatine, not Anakin. He created their family and be there at the end. How is he involved? Don't know. No, I agree. See, a lot of people have said to me, Michael, a couple of times, and I mentioned this a little bit earlier, have said things like, well, why is it okay for them to bring Palpatine back? Well, because Palpatine has been an integral, at its core, part of this story, of the Skywalker saga, right from the beginning of it with the creation of Anakin Skywalker. He has been there. He's been a part of it. To have him at the end, there is an appropriateness narratively to that. And again, I don't think that's shrinking the universe, because he's already there and is part of it. Just don't use him in other things, because that would be shrinking the universe. Anyway, so I agree with you, Michael, completely. I'm 100% in agreement with you on that. Haskell 420 writes, Rise of Skywalker wraps up all 9 Star Wars movies, and I believe the title is multi-purposed. Rise of Anakin, Rise of Luke, and lastly, Rise of Luke to Force Ghost. Possibly. I hadn't considered the rise of him as a Force Ghost, because I got a feeling, you know what? Here's the thing. While I still believe there's a 5% chance Luke's still alive, only 5%, 95% chance he's dead, I think this movie starts with Rey already being and communing with Force Ghost Luke. I think the movie starts with her already talking with Force Ghost Luke. I don't think it's a big reveal moment in this movie like there was in Empire Strikes Back when Ben, I think the movie might start with her. She's already been talking with Luke for a year or something like that. Now, I don't know that. Nobody's told me that. It's simply guessing speculation, maybe a 10% chance of that, but I think there's a possibility of that. Michael Burnett writes, Yoda confronted the ghost of Bane in in Clone Wars. I gotta remember that more specifically, because it wasn't a Force ghost per se. But I'd have to go back and watch that whole Yoda stuff again, how Yoda discovers the teachings of Force ghosting that he then passed on to Obi-Wan and blah, blah, blah. I'd have to go and check that out again. Let's see. Hamza Hussein writes, can you recommend some films that a budding screenwriter might find useful or could learn from, apart from Academy Award winners aside? Oh man, off the top of my head, no. Aside from Academy Award winners, well, those are clearly the best ones. Those are clearly the best ones. If you want to do comedy, Annie Hall. You want to do dramatic, Godfather. I mean, really, the Academy ones are the ones you should really be looking to because they're the best of the best. Outside of that, I would have to sit down and actually think about it for a while. And remember, I'm not a professional screenwriter. I've written a couple screenplays, but I'm not the guy you should be taking screenwriting advice from, to be honest with you. But the Academy-winning films, particularly the ones that won for screenplays, those are the ones you should be absolutely be going to first and foremost, 100%, dude. Hamza writes, your favorite non-English language films? Well, there's my all-time favorite cop movie, which is Infernal Affairs. One of my all-time favorite dramas is Life is Beautiful, the Italian film by Roberto Benigni. Amélie is a French film. I absolutely love Amélie. Several Kurosawa films are in there too. Those are just a couple off the top of my head. And the final question of the day, as we wrap up today in just a brisk 2 hours, comes to us from Royce Freeman, who writes, what do you think of Feige's remarks that all the new characters are dusted so that the original Avengers could do Endgame? Why mix up those who got dusted? I honestly, Royce, don't know what it is you're saying, and I'm not sure of what the comment is. Let me read it again. What do you think of Feige remark that all the new characters are dusted so that the OG Avengers could do Endgame? Why mix up those who got dusted? Again, Royce, I'm not really sure. The syntax of what it is you're saying, I'm not picking up on what it is you're asking. I don't know what quote we're talking about from Feige specifically, because clearly it's not all the new characters got dusted. Like Ant-Man's still there, Rocket's still there, Nebula's still there. I mean, so anyway, I'm not quite sure what it is you're asking. Sorry about that, my friend. Anyway, that will do it for today's installment of Open Mic, guys. Thanks a lot for being here. Just again, a quick reminder of a couple things. Number one, the John Campea Show returns tomorrow. Make sure you come back and join us for that. But also tonight, about an hour or so after Game of Thrones airs, me and Corey Takei are going to be hosting an open live discussion about the episode of Game of Thrones. Make sure you come on back and join us if you are so inclined and if you're not in bed by that time. All right, guys, that will do it for me for now. Thanks a lot for being here. My name is John Campea, folks, and until next time, bye-bye.